All right. All right. We're live. We're
What's up,
live.
man?
NBA Free Agency Talk 2018.
July 4th
2018.
edition.
That's right. That's right. The July 4th edition. We in there. We are in there right now. And let's make sure that, you know, we don't lose, video like last time when I pitched it to you and people thought that was funny that I was so amped in charge and we pitched to you and you're like, oh, I can't hear you. I can't
Yep.
hear
No,
you.
I can hear you. You're loud and clear, man. So, yeah, happy 4th, man. This is a special edition, right?
Happy 4th of July to you too, man.
Yeah,
And
man.
and speaking of that, we were talking about, barbecuing and whatever, today, blah blah blah. Of course, you're on the West Coast and I'm in New York and everything like that. You got to mute your mic when you're going to do that, okay?
I know. I just did. I hope I get. Did that work? Okay.
And we were talking about meat consumption, and so you were saying that you're cutting back. Speak on that.
Yeah, man. So I'm in this weird space, right? I'm in the heart of like Silicon Valley, so I'm always in this constant this wave of new change in terms of like people are there. There's definitely, I don't know if you've heard the Impossible Burger. So the Impossible Burger. So basically, people are making meat that is based from nuts and plants, and they're generating and creating patties that almost bleed like and look like real meat. For people who are vegans who kind of miss like what like a meat substitution is in terms of like what it smells, what it looks like, how it feels, but it's derived not from meat but just from natural products. So it's crazy, man. I want you to check it out. It's called the Impossible Burger.
You're about to join this revolution? Is that what you're saying?
No, because it's still, to me, it's a modified and genetically created food. So I kind of like to stray off that. But the whole conversation I was having before is that I think overall as Americans, I think we consume too much meat. And I think, and it really ranges in terms of what your racial background is in terms of what your body's able to process. But I think in terms of the African American community, I think we consume way too much meat, and that leads to a lot of health risks that we have over time. Because I think genetically going back, and I think it takes time to change your dietary patterns. But I think we're only 6-7 generations removed from Africa. I think it's still not a lot of time for our dietary patterns to change. So pork and chicken and all these other meats that we eat right now are just not what we generally eat, and it causes health risks. So
what I read a while back was actually that exactly what you're saying, and also that as slaves you were fed the scrap meats, pork and all these scraps that were high in sodium.
right.
And so that's why the African American community is more susceptible to, cholesterol and high blood pressure. That's what I read. Whether it's true or not, who knows?
Yeah. I mean, if you just look at it, it's like generally what the diet should be more consisting of is like the natural stuff, right? Because the fruit, the nuts, fish here and there. I'm not saying you need to cut meat out completely from your diet, but I don't think meat needs to be a staple of every meal that I have. So it's no longer like, man, I got to have bacon with that breakfast meal, and then I got to have chicken on my salad for lunch, and then it's just changing the way how you consume your protein and how you get your protein, because there's a lot of other plant substitutes and just things that you can have that just it really does make a difference in terms of like how your body processes stuff. Quinoa is a great substance that is a great substitute for that kind of thing. And I'm totally about being a pescatarian, which is people who don't eat meat but instead will have fish. I think that's a great idea. But again, you need to limit how much fish you have and where you're getting your fish, because if it's not wild.
You gotta go wild caught. You gotta go wild caught.
Almost all the time. I mean, I was just reading some stuff about, like, I was looking into tilapia and mahi. Those fish aren't exactly the most.
No, they're farm raised from China.
And well, not. Yeah, go ahead.
They actually they genetically, so they're basically in a pool, and they're being made, and they actually genetically change males into females to breed
Right.
more.
Right.
So I stay away from tilapia because 99% of it is farm raised. Also, our shrimp is farm raised.
Well, see, and that's a great point, and that's where I try to like you said, you definitely want to get the wild, as best as possible. But the other thing about the mahi mahi and the tilapia is that a lot of it doesn't have the same health benefits that like a healthy fat like wild raised salmon would. It doesn't have those omega 3s that you want, right? Or it just like
And
or
the
that healthy.
skin, they're
Exactly.
very rarely sold out the skin. I actually, and what you're saying about the pescatarian, I've been changing too, and I feel so much better. You have no
Yeah.
idea when I stay away from the beef, the pork, even the chicken, to be honest with you.
Well, I'll tell you what, man. You want to look at
Hold on,
what's
hold
like the
on.
most genetically modified food. It's definitely the chicken.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, they do a lot less with turkey. Turkey, you can
Yeah,
get pretty much, and that's because it's so big to begin with, and they don't have
yeah.
to, do so much with it. But what I was gonna say was, I actually buy whitings because whitings
Mm,
have the skin on, and that skin has such healthy fats in it, and it's
right,
it's very, very good for you.
right. I don't know if you. I mean, I know, and obviously I'm from New Romance, so I know it's a little different. But Whole Foods. If you go check out Whole Foods up in White Plains, man, you'd be surprised on how good some of the sales are in terms of the fish. And sometimes you get a like I said, I'm not saying forego meat. I'm just saying just limit how much you're having it. But if you go to Whole Foods, man, sometimes you can get like good organic ground beef for like 3.99 a pound or 2.99 a pound, man, and
That
just like
grass-fed beef.
no, seriously, grass fed, pasture raised, all that good stuff, and it matters because at the end of the day, what the quality of the stuff that you're ingesting, uh, you'll internalize all those indifferences or the medicines and hormones that they're using, right? So it's like your body's going to intake that somehow. So you just have to be conscious of that stuff, man, especially as we get older, right?
Yeah, actually, it's funny that you mentioned the pescatarian thing because I've been buying salmon cans, and I know it's not good because of
Yeah.
in the can. Same thing with tuna. What is it again? The not aluminum. What is
What
it?
is it? Is it mercury?
Yes, mercury. There you go.
Well, but is it
So
because of the cans, or is it just because of the fish in terms of like they just absorb the mercury from the water? Is that what it is? I've never
I
been sure
don't think
about
so.
that.
I think it's the cans
Oh,
because
interesting.
they had on Shark Tank this guy who came up with actually, no mercury
Wow.
tuna cans. They didn't one of them, the queen of QVC, she was interested in it, but she didn't go with it because of some reason I forgot.
It's
But
okay. You know what?
but
Even though he didn't get on that, I bet you he had a ton of investors that invested after
she,
he was on Shark.
she
No,
the
I'm
guy got the
yeah,
guy
yeah,
got
yeah.
you.
Or she, whoever the investor was, he or
Yeah.
she. I bet if they didn't get an investment from one of the guys or gals on Shark Tank, that they easily would have got somebody else that was interested in that idea because I promise you, there's an interest in that market.
Oh, big time, big time. And getting off of this, the other thing was I didn't realize how much different eggs are until I
Yeah,
started eating boiled eggs. Let me tell you,
yeah,
I was getting from Walmart and from Stop and Shop, the big ones where they give you, 18 eggs for 12 cents. And, you go ahead and do that. I didn't, I bought Eggland's Best one day because it was on sale and I was
hmm
eating the boiled egg. And I'm
hmm
like, oh my gosh, the taste was undeniable.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
absolutely could not believe it. So it it matters how the chicken is fed.
Yeah, it does, man. And I think one of the good things is that we have a lot of information that's out there in terms of like what we have access to, right? Like so, Netflix, and I can understand people's like skepticism in terms of like where they're getting information from, but I think Netflix has a lot of information out there in terms of how the meat industry is, and if you think about just like for instance, like I've never me and my family have never been about consumption of milk, not a ton of dairy products. I'm not gonna lie, I do like cheese here and there, but for the most part, I try to avoid it as much as possible. But you look at the dairy industry and the meat industry, they're all working it together in terms of the advertisement, in terms of what it is. And for I think a lot of people, dairy causes a lot of issues because it's just not something that's always a part of their diet. So
yeah. I get the almond breeze,
yeah,
half almond milk, half coconut milk, or I get,
yeah,
both, and I
yeah,
just go with that. And in terms of the cheese, if you're lactose intolerant like I am, Trader Joe's makes an almond mozzarella.
yeah,
Okay, so it's shavings of almond and it's 99% lactose free, does not bother you at all. And
nice.
you put it on top of pasta,
Yeah.
everything, it's great. But let's get to NBA free agency.
I mean, we can talk about this all day. So yeah, let's do that, man. Let's do
This
that.
Trader Joe's Whole Food show here, but people are interested in that. They like, hearing that
That's
type
right,
of
man.
banter because America's getting healthier.
We should, and America and all communities should, because a lot of people think it's expensive to eat healthy, but it's really not. Like you said, man, me and my family have been a fan of Trader Joe's for 15, 20 years,
That's an
man.
excuse. That's an
It
excuse.
is.
Oh,
It is.
I'm so fat because no, no,
It's just planning,
no.
planning. Let's
It's
get into it, man.
exactly. So let's get into the NBA free agency here, and are we gonna? You know what? Draft, just on the draft, we'll just briefly say I'm in favor of this kid Knox. We don't know. I did want, the kid that went to Cleveland, Sexton. I did want him, but we didn't get him. But that's okay.
So let me ask you a question directly on that, because what do you think about our point guard situation? I think I want to hear your answer on this before, but so we got Moutier, we have Nilikina, so who it sounds like they're going to try to move to the two guard, and if that's the case, I think they should move Courtney Lee as well too, because there's no reason to get him and have him on the team. I think they should move him for a pick because he needs to play for a competitor. He needs to be playing for a team. So maybe even a trade like to the Lakers for a second round pick, or just for cash consideration.
How is a
something.
guy that can't score going to be one
Well,
of our starting positions?
who Nilikina?
Yeah. I mean,
He's working on it, man.
It's like taking somebody with 5 home runs and sticking them at first base.
I'll tell you this, right? We're really not taking into consideration how young this kid is. He's 20. He's going to be 20. I don't even think he's going to be 21 in this upcoming season. And I just know that when you have a kid like him, he's working on his outside shot. He's working on his dribble. He's working on the drive to the basket. I know it's just they're all hype workout videos, but at the end of the day, what I'm seeing from him is that he's addressing what you need to in terms of in terms of working on his game from an outside perspective, right? Like you have to be able to like penetrate to kick it out to your teammates to the outside, right? And I think he's addressing that, man. But I honestly like Trey Burke. I want to make sure that the Knicks actually keep him. I'm skeptical if they will, but
you like him, huh? Okay.
I like TB, man. I like Trey Burke, man.
But he's a backup point guard, and
is he though?
Yes, yeah, man. He's a backup point guard, dude.
Okay,
he's an off the bench point guard. Now listen. Sometimes you give people run and you give them minutes and they prove they're not a backup point guard or a backup shooting guard like John Starks was.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So I get what you're saying, but from what I see right now, he's a backup point guard. Yeah. Moutier can't shoot, but I'll tell you what I like about Moutier. He can drive. The boy can drive.
Yeah. And I think that's going to be one of the sticking points. And we talk about, and I think we talked about off air about this. I think Mark Jackson was a candidate that we both wanted. Stephen A was also really high on this pick as well too. Stephen A was like, man, Mark Jackson understands the market. He's from Queens. He's from my mom's neighborhood. Shout out to Queens, man. St. Albans, Jamaica. What up? Woo woo. But the whole point is just that like you need somebody that understands the New York market and how much the Knicks mean to us, man. Because like we really do kind of live and die with these Knicks, man. And it's like as bad as they are, I still follow their bums. I still follow these bums from day to day, and it hurts me when I'm out here in Warrior territory, and then I hear that they're adding a player of DeMarcus Cousins caliber, and I'm like, and then I just hear this morning that DeMarcus Cousins going to come off the bench, and I'm like, only on the Warriors that would work. And I promise you, what they're going to do. Not only is he going to come off the bench, he's not going to even be playing until about February. He's not going to be playing. He should even be
after
playing
the All-Star break.
He should be playing. He should even be playing until after the All-Star break. Because if they're going to pay him and they're going to let him rehab, and they got one of the best medical staffs in the league, you're just talking about like, why wouldn't he? It's like, dude, we're going to be in the finals. You don't need to rush. So if he's worried about getting future money later on, and I'll tell you why it's so crazy that they were able to sign DeMarcus Cousins, because you realize that when they re-signed Kevin Durant, he did not take the full max of what he could have. What he did was left almost exactly the amount that DeMarcus Cousins signed for. And so you look again at like this unselfishness that the Warriors have to build this kind of team, and there's going to become a point where I'm pretty sure DeMarcus Cousins is going to be in the starting lineup. And when you look at that starting five, Boogie, Thompson, Durant, Green, and Curry, I mean, how do you defend
it's
them?
Unbelievable. And you actually put up a stat, which I tweeted on our EnB Twitter, that they're the first team ever to have 4 players who scored 20 points or more the previous year.
Yeah. And were they all All-Stars last year? Was DeMarcus Cousins an All-Star as well too?
I'm not sure if he was injured or not at the time.
He might have been. You know, he got injured right before the All-Star break. I think that's exactly what happened.
Remember that Lakers year where they had like 4 people in the All-Star game and they played them all at the same time? Yeah, it was like Rick Fox, Shaq, Kobe, and I forgot who was the 4th. And it was like, I mean, are we kidding here? You know?
Yeah, it happens.
Listen, Boogie Cousins, where is your pride? Where is your pride?
You went there, okay.
Join the Trojan horse in LA.
Oh, that's what I thought. I for me, it was kind of like, where did we slip away, and where did the Lakers did the Lakers not offer him a competitive offer, or did he really just want to be in the Warriors that bad that like? I appreciate what it means for players to like say, I'm going to sign for less money on a 1 year and a prove it deal, and I'm going to be a part of this team, and I'm going to work together, because we've never seen anything like this, man, right? And I appreciate this again.
Oh, this is ridiculous now. I mean, you got a team that had the best record in NBA history. Okay, then they go out and get one of the best players I've ever seen, one of the most unstoppable scorers I've ever seen, and the second best player in the league in Durant. Okay. And now they go out and get potentially the first or second best center in the league. Okay, but either behind Joel or Anthony Davis. And I think right now he's more developed than Joel. So, and he's not injured all the time like Embiid has been. So I have him 2 and Embiid 3. I mean, this is a joke. I mean, this isn't going to be any fun watching this next year.
Okay, let me ask you a question. And this is a question that's been posed, by many callers on ESPN and the various radio stations. If Durant ties and or passes LeBron, is he still the second best player in the league?
Tied in terms of what?
Chips.
Is this a real question, or?
I mean, yeah. I mean that's a question that's posed to people. So
okay. Hold on. LeBron is here.
Okay. Right now. We're talking about right now. Okay.
LeBron is here.
Okay.
Durant is here.
Wow.
And everyone else is here and down, which is your Russell Westbrooks and so on. Westbrook might be a little bit closer there, but that's how it is.
Wow.
LeBron is here. Don't you once again, and I repeat the same thing. I don't know what people are watching, but this is one of the top 3 best players in NBA history. If you want to say top 5, okay, but he's top 5. Okay.
Yeah.
Durant is, yes, Durant, was leading the league in blocks. I don't know if he finished, leading the league in blocks or whatever, but
Oh, was he? Yeah. This year, this past season. That's right. I do remember. Yeah, he did have. It was like he was averaging like almost like 2.5 blocks per game, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Listen,
Well,
Durant is
listen,
one of those.
hold on. Let me get back to my point. He's a very, very good defender, and he really worked on that. Okay. And defense is all about heart. It's about determination. It's about aggressiveness. It's about pride. Okay. And, he really took the time. It's about effort.
Yeah.
About effort. And he took the time, and, give him his props, give Durant his props. But does he rebound better than LeBron? No. Does he make his teammates better than LeBron? No. Does he pass better than LeBron? No. Is he a better defender than LeBron? No. Is he a better scorer than LeBron? Yes.
Yes. And but this is the argument I think a lot of people are going to use in terms of what their criteria for him versus LeBron is, right? Because you look at him, there's never been a body in this league where he lists himself on the short side and said he's 6'9", but really this cat he's really about 7 feet.
No, 7 feet,
and with the wingspan of about a 7'4" person, right? So we've never seen anything in the league where he's been able to move. So for me, he moves different than even how a LeBron moves. So we're not going to even have this conversation. I agree that it's I'll say 1 and 1B or 1A, whatever you want to call it. I'm not sure if I'm ready to have this conversation. If Durant does surpass LeBron in terms of the amount of chips, the only thing is just that I think it's just how Durant acquired those chips. Maybe.
Yeah, look who he's playing with. He's playing with. Can you imagine?
It'll be part of the argument.
Can you imagine giving LeBron, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, and Steph Curry, and Iguodala? And I mean, are we kidding? Do you know how many championships he would win? Do you know how many games he would lose?
Yeah. It's man. I think about it. It's really weird when when I got the news broken to me, because I've been. It's kind of hard to always get the free agency updates the minute that they happen. So sometimes they get broken to me by text from group text, local, my coworkers, etc. And so I got that news that Boogie went to the Warriors, and I said, no, there's no way. And then it's like, wait, a 1-year, $5.3 million deal, and the Warriors were the only team that was in on that. My God, are we kidding me?
I was playing. Because I'm back on it. I was playing NBA 2K.
Okay, talk to me. Who's your squad?
Well, you don't want to hear the squad. It's it's a work in progress. I'm working with a few players, but what I do is this: I stack all the teams.
Okay.
I incorporate like the older players. It's a whole project. Like it's a whole production. And
okay.
So right now I got like Allen Iverson on the Sixers with Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons. I played it out, right? So I got Dr. J on the Brooklyn Nets with Drazen Petrovic, Kenny Anderson, and Derek Coleman. Okay.
Wait. Is this the 2K series, or is this live?
Live still exists.
I don't know.
I think they brought it back, but that's not in my vocabulary.
Okay, so that's so it's a 2K. Okay, so this is like the okay,
2K,
man. Yeah, not
2K18 for the PS4. Okay. So I just got back on it, and I'm like creating all the teams and stuff like that, and I'm dismantling this. I took like the 94, 95 Knicks, and I got like Mark Jackson. I put him on there, because I got Derek Harper on Dallas with Dirk. And Michael Finley, and so that they're stacked over there, right? Okay. And then I got I got Bernard King playing with Patrick Ewing, and all that, right?
So as long as the players play with that team, you can select them and pick them and consolidate them into the same team, pretty much.
You already got the rules down. That's what
I
I'm
love
talking
it.
about.
I love it, man.
But you got to be smart, though. So, like, the 93, 94 Rockets had Robert Horry. But
Right.
I'm also playing the 2001, 2002, or 2000, 2001 Lakers that have Robert Horry. So you got to take Horry off of one of those teams.
Right.
So you got to be smart.
Double Horry.
Yeah.
You don't want Big Shot Bob on both ends, man.
I'm debating whether I'm gonna do. I'm debating whether I'm gonna do double Shaq.
Oh my God.
Whether I'm gonna do Magic, Shaq with Penny, and
have Kareem come off the bench.
Have who off the bench?
Kareem come off the bench.
Have Kareem go off the bench in LA. Yeah. No, I don't get too crazy. Like if it's two great, started, you have to have that defined position and then role players. But anyway, so I'm doing the 2K, the whole production.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
mm-hmm.
And I'm getting to it, but I'm listening to a podcast on my phone.
Yep.
So I'm getting these texts. And I'm like, what? I'm like, all right, this is too much. I stop the podcast, I check the phone, and it's you, and it's Bleacher Report, and it's like 5 other people. Whoa, Boogie to Warrior. I sunk right in my couch.
Yeah.
I was sitting right. I sunk right in my couch. I said, I was at loss for words, to be honest with you. I was at loss for words.
My initial response, because I got it from, again, I got this in a group text with about 5 or 6 of these Warrior fans. I'm like, oh my God, another person on the bandwagon. So my initial response was bitterness as a Knicks fan that we weren't really in the market, to kind of to just be in the market to really add somebody.
No, he wasn't going to fit with us.
No, I get that.
He wasn't going to fit with us, and it's only 1 year.
We're not in the market for free agents, period. So this Mario, Hesnavina, I apologize to pronounce his last name.
Isn't it wrong. Herzanja or something?
Yeah, I apologize.
From the Magic that they got?
From the Magic, who was actually a pick right after Kristaps. And, it's funny because they said Scott Perry was the GM in Orlando when they picked him. And the problem is that he's been labeled as a bust because he's always been picked. He's always been compared to the number 4 pick, Kristaps Porzingis, in that draft. So he's been considered a bust in comparison to him. But he definitely had a little bit of an uptick last year. I think towards the end of the season, he was averaging like 12.3 points a game. So, you look at somebody who they're going to.
I didn't know he was picked that high. Wow.
I think he was picked. Yeah, he was picked number 5 in that draft. So, you're looking at that kind of, potential, and it's like we're going to need a little more than 12.3 points a game. But again, we're talking about somebody that's less than 23 years old. I think he's a 21, 22-year-old kid at best. So, it happens.
These are just role players. Right now, these are just role players. You know what I mean?
It's fine.
It's fine. It's a rebuilding year. I mean, that's all you can say. It's a rebuilding year. You're hoping to grab somebody in the 2019 free agency. That's really what it boils down to. You're hoping to grab someone.
We want Kyrie. We want Kyrie for 2019.
Well, I heard a story I wasn't too happy with.
In terms of?
Kyrie.
What happened?
Okay, so a show that I really think is really good is Dan Patrick's show. You ever listen to him?
I don't listen to it a ton, but yeah, I know he's on. He's an NBC guy. He's an NBC guy. Yeah. Yeah,
check him out. Yeah, but he's got the YouTube show.
Oh, okay.
Check him out because he has his own podcast, right? So it's good stuff. It's really good stuff, and he's got good guests on. Well, he had on to promote Uncle Drew.
Okay.
He had Weber and Reggie on.
Okay.
Okay, and also I liked Weber's podcast with, I think it was Sway in the Morning. And he basically said, they brought up the Fab Five and everything like that. And he basically said, Jalen Rose spoke out about me to promote his own career. And he said that's why they don't talk, because he felt he should have kept.
Wait. C. Webb said this?
Yeah, I know. It's the first time he spoke about it.
Man,
Yeah, I couldn't believe it because he's now going to go back to Michigan because
I heard that. Yeah, well, the sanctions
invited him.
You know, he couldn't step foot on campus for a long time. He was banned because of the whole scandal. So he was banned off campus for a long time. So the ban's been lifted for like a few years. So yes, it was time for him to come back. And
well, you know what Jalen Rose said? He said, "Hey, you're coming back to football, but you weren't in the NCAA. You know, you weren't in the Rose Bowl. Okay, you was in the NCAA championship. So when are you coming back to basketball?" So they've been throwing shots at each other, but he was really honest on Sway Show. Like, you know that when he makes that snarl, that face, that famous Weber when he's pissed.
Yeah.
He had that face on. You know, that,
so he
that
was,
face
he was
like
serious.
when he had the timeout, like that face. Okay. So anyway, Weber and Reggie Miller was on there promoting Uncle Drew on Dan Patrick's show. And they said a Kyrie story that, I don't know, it doesn't look good for us Knicks fans, let me tell you. So Kyrie didn't have his phone, and they were in the trailer or whatnot, but Weber and Reggie had their phones, and they saw, oh, he's just been traded to the Celtics. So they're like, yo, Kyrie. And he goes, I'll be right back. And he called his agent, and they said he came back. He was screaming happy that he was on the Celtics.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't look good for coming to the Knicks. Sounds like he likes being there.
Listen, so what I'll tell you this. I think when you hear a lot of stories, I think what happens is that basically they decided that they were Kyrie sounded like he wanted his own team, right? So I think he was just happy to kind of get under off the tutelage of kind of LeBron and just kind of not having to kind of being his own guy, right? So I think that's what he was excited about. I still think that he does want to ultimately come here, and of course, with being a fan, I'm speaking from the fan perspective that this guy wants to come here, and that's why we're holding on to kind of these point guards and kind of seeing what shakes out, because one of these guys that we have on our roster right now is going to be a great point backup. Or, you know, even a co-pilot with a Kyrie in 2019, if that's the case. And especially these guys have already stated that they're not going to be active in 2018 for the sole purpose to be active in 2019. When you look at that free agency period, when you look at those guys that are going to be available, there's going to be a lot of decent guys out there, man. So, I'm looking forward to it.
Well, look, he's a guy that you're going to go after. But look, what if the Celtics? Well, listen, the Celtics are going to the NBA Finals. Okay, I'm stamping that right now.
Okay, well, yeah, you can do that, but there's two or three other teams that are in the mix, and let's not discount the Pacers, man. Like, I think the fact that the Pacers were even able to take not the Spurs, they were able to take the Cavs, 7 games or 5 games, I think it was, or
no, they won 7. But listen, I'm not saying it's going to be easy. I'm just saying though. I mean, they went. Okay, you're talking about bringing the Cavs 7 games, right? Okay, yeah. Who brought Cleveland to 7 games without their 2 best players?
I get that, but you know what?
That was that full strength.
It's wide open right now.
They would have beat the Cavs.
It's wide open.
I don't think it's wide open.
I think it's wide open.
I think
it is.
No. I think you have. I don't think Philly's ready yet. Okay, but Philly's going to be annoying, but I don't think they're ready yet.
I think with the addition of Chandler, I think that's a nice little bench piece for you, man. Like, I think the guy Wilson Chandler, I think, was traded to the Sixers last night. So, you know, I'll tell you that's not he's not a world beater, but the point of the matter is that he's a competent player in this league, and he's another guy. And they re-signed Redick. He's another player that's going to be good, man. And he's
Redick's a good piece. And you're right. I think they did. I think they got a draft pick for him, Denver, last night. Yeah. You're right. Listen, but the problem is Wilson Chandler's always hurt, man. Okay, so you got him. You don't know if Embiid's going to play the full year. Listen, I'm not saying that it's just, they're going to be annoying, but I think, look at this. They have Tatum's going to be in his second year.
Mm-hmm.
Jaylen Brown's going to be in his second year.
Mm-hmm.
Marcus Smart's still there. Rozier's there. Gordon Hayward's coming back. Kyrie's coming back. Al Horford's there. I mean, this is a dynamite team. And the Cavs are gone. They smell blood, and they're not done. You know, once again, all I'm saying is this, because we brought up we brought this up to talk about, you know, Kyrie. Let's say they go to the finals and lose. He's gonna leave that team and go to the Knicks. I mean, the Celtics are going to be good for a long time. I think that's a pipe dream. That's a pipe dream.
I hear you. But what I'm thinking is that the Knicks feel like what they're and I hear their vision. And you know, whether again, if it's a pipe dream that I want to believe it or not, Scott Perry was on Stephen A. Smith's show not too long ago, and he talked about what he's trying to do to change the situation here with the Knicks. Right? He talked about simply looking at and detailing and outlining a plan for James Dolan to be like, hey, this is what we need to do. We need to grow the players that we have internally, build the foundation, build that, coach them up, give them the best coaching, the best information we can, the best situation for them to thrive in. And then once we build the foundation, we can come in and bring in 2 max contracts over the next couple of years. Whoever that may be, if that's even realistic at that point, we don't know, but we really don't think Kristaps is going to be ready by the beginning of the season, and he might not even play at all this year, which I'm okay with because honestly, listen. This is about asset. You have to build with assets. We traded those picks so long ago, and that horrible Carmelo Anthony trade where, and I won't say it's horrible in the sense of it didn't work out. So I'll call it
what.
The trade didn't work out in a sense of
you mean Carmelo to the Thunder?
Well, Carmelo.
You're not talking about acquiring Carmelo, are you?
I'm talking about acquiring Carmelo.
You are not, Earl.
It pillaged the team.
Not, Earl.
It pillaged the team and did not let him build assets around him to let him be successful. So yes, I'm talking about that.
Oh well, listen, we lost some pieces. But look at the pieces we were able to get around him because we had him, okay? The Defensive Player of the Year, Chandler.
Okay, who's no longer on the team.
Yeah, I know, but this was for the time. You're talking about 8 years ago.
Okay, but the whole point was like when we had a successful situation here, we removed the coach and took it down because apparently Carmelo didn't agree with Mike Woodson. But we look at Mike Woodson, and Mike Woodson had a 50-something plus. We won like what 50 games that season.
It was 54 games, and the thing is, I mean, you would rather have. I mean, you're not serious. You're gonna really compare Carmelo to guys like Wilson Chandler and Danilo Gallinari and Timothy Mozgov and Raymond Felton. You're not serious. Melo meant the possibility of a championship.
So
okay?
Did he though? So let me tell you this: where along in his playoff history did he suggest that is the case? Besides that, he was a prolific scorer.
Well, remember he went to the conference finals against the Lakers in Denver. They had AI, they had Kenyon Martin,
and that was it, right?
They had Billups,
okay,
and they had J.R. Smith. Which also Melo. I mean, that's a good team. Listen, they went to the conference finals, which they were able, but a lot of people forget about that. So I don't blame you for forgetting about that. That's a lot of people forget that because all they do is bash Melo, bash. Look,
I didn't forget that. I'm talking about what okay, so that was the one chance, but he wasn't necessarily the leader of that team, like you said. The player that you listed last is probably the most important of that.
You're right.
Bill Lutz. It was Bill Lutz.
Absolutely, you're right. He was the enforcer.
That's right.
And AI went off that year. He went off because he was pissed that the Sixers traded him. I remember one game he had 51 points, and then he followed it up by like a 40-something point game. AI went off. Okay,
he's one of my favorite players of all time, man. I love him.
AI is just unbelievable. And the point of the matter is that was another player. We got J.R. Smith because of Melo. Mm-hmm. Remember that. You know what I'm saying? So Melo is anybody who says, and these dumb fans out here that say that that Melo on the Knicks was just some complete failure or whatnot. They don't know what they're talking about.
It wasn't a failure. What happened was that they traded away too many assets in order to build substantially around him. And I'll tell you what,
but then they got assets back.
You mentioned JR. JR wasn't the same player that he was when he was on the Cavs because he was partying. He was from the area. He had too much of his homies around him. It was a bad situation. He wasn't at
his JR performed better on the Knicks than the Cavs.
No, he didn't. No,
yes,
he didn't.
He did. Look at those numbers. First of all, he averaged 20. He averaged it was either 18 or 21 points a game that year when he was the sixth man of the year, or else shaking his head over there. No. He had 3 solid years with the Knicks. You don't know what you're talking about. I totally disagree with you. They shackled his game in Cleveland, and he stopped driving in Cleveland. He stopped getting to the line in Cleveland. LeBron handled the ball and just wanted him to stay behind the arc and shoot threes, and that's why his numbers are so bad in Cleveland.
Yeah, man. And you know, we actually talked about this off air. You mentioned that. I said that I still think that they're an 8th seed because they're going to keep Kevin Love, and I think Colin Sexton's actually a decent player. And I bet you Clarkson and some of these other guys, Larry Nance Jr., they're actually going to perform decent because they don't have the pressure on them to perform with a LeBron James in the building. So I
cannot see them making the playoffs.
They're going to win 41 games next year. Okay. Yeah.
You have you're not
41 games. Yeah. You said 20. Wait. You said 20.
When did I say 20?
I think you said 20 yesterday. You said that they're not going to win any more than 20
you're talking
games.
off air. So sometimes off air I exaggerate a little bit, but I'd say between I make sure on air that I don't say anything too dumb. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? But to be honest with you, really 30. 30. And honestly, what's the lineup here? This is with no additions though. I'm not saying they acquired.
There's no new additions. They're not going to get anybody else, right?
This is with so you got J.R. Smith, mm-hmm. You got Kevin Love,
mm-hmm.
And who else do you got? You got Larry
Clarkson,
Nance. You got
Sexton.
You have Clarkson, you have Sexton, you have Hood. I mean, this is a bunch of just ragtag bench players.
They're guys, but what I'm saying is that they no longer have the pressure to perform at the level that they were supposed to, or thought they were supposed to. And so what I think
they also don't have a guy elevating their game to another level.
I know, and I agree, but you're talking about in a weak East. Anything is possible. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying it's a merit of their team, but it's just really just like it's just wide open right now.
Dude, they're terrible, and they're trying to. It's sad, and it's sad, okay. and they're probably trying to unload Love because what's the point? I mean, really, what's the point? Let him play for a
who's picking up that contract?
Well, yeah, that's the problem, and Tristan Thompson's hard to get rid of too. Look at that contract, and
nobody's taking that.
You know what's funny? LeBron did give you a championship, right? So you can't say he didn't do anything. But in doing that, you mortgaged your future in Kyrie Irving, in Wiggins, and then he handicapped you with Love's salary and Tristan Thompson's salary.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, this is why you don't have players dictate general manager moves, but also this is always why my argument has always been for why coaches should not be general managers as well too, because coaches and general managers have 2 different perspectives, right? Coaches are looking at like what I need immediately, but they're not looking at the long-term financial viability in terms of like what they can and cannot afford in terms of how this team should be built, right? So for instance, look at Doc Rivers in LA. That just didn't work out in terms of him making all the decisions. There really hasn't been a coach GM situation that's really succeeded because they're 2 different roles. They're 2 different roles, so that really has never panned out. You have to have a strong GM. You have to have a strong coach, and they need to be on the same page. You're looking at Greg Popovich down in San Antonio and RC Buford. Those guys are going to make the right decisions, man, and they really don't BS when it comes in terms of like making the right draft choices and with this Kawhi situation, I don't think they're going to sell short on this guy. They're gonna make sure they get a decent return back. So,
do you think they're going to play hardball and knowing
why
that
not?
teams know that they're desperate and just lose them for nothing? It's got to come a point, whether it's mid-season or whatever, where they'll
trade him by the mid-season. They'll trade him by the mid-season if he decides that he doesn't want to play. But I think the whole point of it is that, like, you got a team like the Sixers who have assets, right? So was that Wilson Chandler pickup just so it's an expiring contract and it'll be great for a nice little trade piece? It's possible, but what kind of package are they really asking for? They're probably asking for Fultz. Mm-hmm. They're probably asking for a future draft pick. They're probably asking for Saric, which would fit really nicely into the Spurs system.
They better.
I think I had already mentioned Fultz in that, but if not, they're also asking for a draft pick as well, too, if not two.
Exactly. Well, why would you not ask for it? You're asking for a haul. This is the Finals MVP here. This is one of the best, most versatile players, two-way players in the league. You're absolutely right. That's what you're asking for. And I'll tell you what, though, to all Knicks fans out there, I'm confident in Fizdale.
I am. I'm a believer.
I'm confident in Perry.
I like what they're building.
Yeah, I'm very confident in this, man. And to wrap up the free agency talk, let's end it with ending Kawhi. I think there's really not much to talk about right now. It's just speculation. We all know he wants to play in LA. You know what Kawhi said, though, which was very, very smart. It's been confirmed that he said this. He said, to whatever team that wants to acquire me,
mm-hmm.
I'm going to leave and just sign with LA anyway. So he's letting the teams know, which is going to narrow the Spurs. He's
basically cutting the market down. So, but I keep hearing these reports where the Lakers are not aggressive with their trade talks, right? So, you look at it, and
that they got aggressive now.
No, that they're not. They're not being aggressive. So it's like, are they just being, kind of sitting back on the fence and playing defense, kind of just by not striking the first move and then having the Spurs kind of reach out.
They're gonna wait. They were aggressive like a week ago, but they're gonna wait for the Spurs to get desperate.
And does it sound like that also that there's a potential that he would play for the Clippers too? Like, does he just wants to be in the LA market, or does he want to play for the purple and gold?
I heard that he would play for the Clippers, but once again, after that year's up, he's going to go to the Lakers, man. And the last thing is OKC. What do you think about them? Well, they had no choice with Melo; he opted in, but they got Paul George back. I mean, it's sad.
I'm surprised.
I'm not. Melo has always been about the money.
No, not Melo. Forget about Melo. I don't even think this is a player worth discussing on this radio show right now.
But you're trolling me.
But beyond that, you want to look at what I'm really more surprised about Paul George opting out and then opting back in, which makes sense financially for himself. But I thought he was really just this gung ho on being a player in LA, and I'm curious to see, because I do want to know what an extra year will do in terms of chemistry for how they play with Russell Westbrook, because I think he's the variable X in this equation where he kind of bothers me in terms of how he plays the game. And I'm not sure he really meshes well with players because, again, he's a huge ISO player. He takes a lot of the offense and he can control so much of the game that I think it hurts players sometimes. And what he basically needs is spot up shooters and guys like a Roberson or their center from New Zealand, or Steven Adams, who's just a good, I can throw it up to you or clean up the rebound kind of guy. He needs strong role players, right?
Yeah. And what's funny? In just about 5 seasons, or is it maybe a little bit more, maybe 6, 5, whatever. OKC lost James Harden, Kevin Durant, and Oladipo.
Yeah. I mean, we don't. I mean, right? It's which also shows that these teams actually draft and trade really well. Sam Presti and their front office is actually one of the best teams out there, man. I mean, and the fact of the matter is, what was it really just? It was like
I don't.
it was a $20 million difference between what Harden wanted and what they wanted to give him. And you look
No,
back at
no,
it,
no, no. It wasn't that much. It
it was
wasn't that
like,
much. I think it was. I think it was $8 million difference.
oh
He
man, if you
would.
look
This
back
how
at
so
it,
stupid they were. But with the luxury tax, it would have been more. So
okay.
basically, I think he wanted. I think he wanted 4 years, 60 million, and they offered him 4 years, 52 million.
I think it was like 52, 53. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah.
And they say,
Yeah.
but what got me was that they traded him for Kevin Martin. Like, okay, we got our bench player now. I mean, I was up in arms when this happened. I could not believe that they did that.
Yeah.
And they're paying for it big time. And maybe that's why they unloading the money from Melo, which definitely didn't work for them. That was stupid for them. And giving Paul George whatever he wants. I was positive. And speaking of that, okay, what's up with it was such a big deal that LeBron went ahead and made the decision. What about the stupid NBA, this Paul George free agency series, 3-part series on ESPN about where he's going? Oh, where should I go? Oh, I don't know. And then he's teasing the Lakers all through the whole thing. So I thought he was definitely going to the Lakers. He's sitting down and having a one-on-one interview with Dwayne Wade while they're sitting down in his house and they're drinking his Wade wine. And Dwayne Wade's got his own wine. And he's sitting there.
That's boss, man. That's a boss move.
You got to see this stupidness, the part 2. And it's in there, and he's pouring the wine. He goes, "Oh, you got the good Dwayne Wade wine. Well, you got your own thing. I got to step my game up."
Major plug right there.
Yeah, but why aren't people up in arms about this?
It's not the same player. They're not the same player.
Exactly. Imagine if LeBron did a 3-part series on where he's going to go this summer on ESPN. Imagine that.
Yeah,
and he's sitting down with Magic Johnson, and he's sitting down with Dwayne Wade. Like, hey, what do you think? Remember 2010 when I came? I mean, the absurd. Nobody said any. I didn't hear anything anywhere about this.
And you're not because again, I feel like Paul George and LeBron James just totally different caliber athlete, right? So you're never going to hear a comparison between the two. So the impact of what LeBron will decide free agent wise. Again, Bleacher Report is my main source, and it's like, LeBron James' decision breaks the internet or breaks Twitter is what they always say, right? And they get all the reactions from all the players. There was definitely a lot of the kind of same shock reaction to PG-13, but at the end of the day, it's definitely not at the same rate as like LeBron James in terms of just the same vitriol that he has and the same hatred that they have. Like, they just don't generate.
Exactly.
And they're not the same players. They don't have the same pull in the NBA or in the media. Sorry.
I think the decision. I think this guy LeBron is one of the only athletes to be at this high a level in their sport and have nothing outside. Yeah. I mean, you can't even say that about Jordan, because Jordan, it was the gambling, it was things like that. It was his harsh treatment of players. It was a lot of things with with Jordan. Kobe, he had the incident in the hotel room. He was accused of rape. You got a lot, going on here, and. With LeBron, you had nothing. You don't hear anything. You don't hear about him cheating on his wife. You don't hear about drugs. You don't hear about him high at 2 a.m. So the decision is the only thing they can bring him down on. Like, the decision. Okay, he made a mistake 8 years ago. Nobody talks about the revenue he brought ESPN from those commercials. Nobody talks about how he could have just did that decision from his living room, but no, he did it at the YMCA in Connecticut, and he made it a charity event and made a ton of money for that YMCA. I think it was the Greenwich YMCA. Yeah. Nobody wants to talk about that it was a charity event. Nobody wants to talk about that. and this guy has nothing outside of the sport that you can. So they just use this decision. But imagine he did a 3-part series, and the third part is going to come out after he makes his decision. So it's probably out now already. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. So again, Paul George is, I don't know where you want to put him. I say he's the top 40 player in the league, right? Is 40 generous?
No, I think he's way better than that.
So you think he's top 20?
I think he's top 20. Yeah, absolutely. And
okay.
And before the injury, he was top 10.
Whoa.
And before the injury, in terms of two-way players in the league, I had LeBron 1, I had Paul George 2, and I had Kawhi 3. And the reason I had George above Kawhi's, because at the time Kawhi's game was not good enough in terms of offense. But
I'm sorry, top 40 was selling him a little short. I apologize. I would have said top 30, the top 25 players in the league. I say he's in that mix.
Yeah, but last year he went, like you said about them gelling, about OKC gelling. This season might be a different season. You never know. But clearly Paul George wasn't the same player. And I don't even think it was the injury. I think it was just somebody like Westbrook just being so in control.
He's a ball-centric player, man.
Yeah.
He's a ball-centric player at the end of the day. And it's tough. You got to figure out how you're going to, you got to make the shots and the opportunities that you get. I think there's going to be a lot of positions where it's like, you probably should be sitting Westbrook down and just having Paul George being like the main scorer out there, with even like a Melo, and just having those guys running with the second point guard, just somebody who's not as ball dominant.
I want Melo coming off the bench, and I said this like a year
ago. He's not going to do that, and it's just I don't get his attitude in terms of like where his position in the league is. And I know it sounds like I'm going to be trolling him again. He's delusional in terms of like what his impact in the league and what the game is. Okay.
I totally agree with you. He is delusional. He thinks he's one of the top 5 best players in the league.
And that hasn't been the case in about 8 years now.
This guy, listen, 10? I think he should be, no, he's not top 10. I think
I said 10 years, maybe.
10 years ago. I think he should be the new James Harden. I think he should be OKC's new James Harden. When James Harden was in OKC, he came off the bench and he was always there in crunch time for fourth quarter, but he never started the games.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I don't know. Again, I think it's an ego thing where these guys are like, I don't want to come off the bench. I'm a starter.
I'm a starter. Like the money I'm making.
Yeah, it doesn't matter, man. Like, understand their position, but I think we need to move off Melo. I want to get off this conversation pretty soon.
No, we were just talking about OKC in general, but so I know you hate him.
My thing with him, I think the issue with Melo is that he has shoulder issues. I don't think you remember how many shoulder injuries he had with the Knicks. That's not a great sign for somebody who's going to be shooting a lot that you're having shoulder injuries. Melo's never been the person to be in like excellent condition. You look at LeBron James, his conditioning is impeccable. There's nobody in the league that has the type of conditioning that he has. And especially you talk about the physicality that a guy like LeBron has. There's nobody else that is positioned like he is in terms of.
We're disregarding Hoodie Melo, right?
Hoodie Melo's dead. Especially you're going to be what was he 11 point scorer in the league. Let's not. Yeah,
Earl is hating, boy. This is some hate.
Bury Hoodie Melo, man. Like let's never see that again. Let's try a new persona.
He's 9 feet deep. That's
Get a new persona, homie. Let's do it.
No, but you're right. You're right. And man,
it's painful. Man. He set us back a lot of years, man. You talk about again. You let go of Mike Woodson. That's what you're going to do because he doesn't get along with Melo.
No, Woodson's voice. He didn't have the same voice, man. I'm telling you, he didn't have the same voice, and he was. I always think it's bad when a coach is visibly frustrated. He was visibly frustrated out there.
Yeah.
And it was time to go. And They brought in Phil Jackson, and I think that Phil Jackson said one thing, and I don't know how Melo took it, but Phil Jackson said the greatest quote about Melo that I've heard. He said, Melo is great.
Mm-hmm.
He's an unguardable player, but there's still another level. If he gets to that level, we can see success.
Yeah, but it's
And
too late
that's,
now, right?
yeah, dude. He's
Physically, it's too
listen.
late.
Did you see how much he slowed down last year?
But that's what
Like
I'm
in,
talking about, right? You notice that?
yeah, like when he would drive, like of course he can still dunk, but just on the drive, it looked like his legs was in molasses. Like
Yeah.
he was a lot slower. Now listen, it happens to all great players. I mean, the guy's 34 now. This isn't any right. We all seen the great players at 30. Look how much Jordan slowed down at 34. We
Yeah,
can't put these expectations on him. Look how much LeBron has slowed down.
can
You
I
know,
can I take a off the record approach that I don't have any verified facts, and I'm gonna take a huge stab at it. I just think he's a player that doesn't is not as meticulous with his body as a LeBron James is, as a Tom Brady is, as some of these guys that we are greats are. I think he's a guy that again, Steven Jackson was on Colin Cowherd earlier, man, was just talking about there's probably about 60-70% of these guys in the league right now that they don't love basketball, they love what it does for their lifestyle. And I think he can kind of categorize Melo as that person, because that's just, it's the reality of it. I don't blame him, man. You're making $28 million a year and then $12 million from Nike and then another $4 million from all the other endorsements. Yeah, I think it kind of creates this, he's good, man. And, if he's wise about it, he should be good for a long time. So I think he's not in the same category as like a Curry, LeBron, maybe even a young D Wade, those kind of players who just have that, like they want it,
Yeah.
and I just don't think he has that want
He's
it.
so obsessed with the ego, and he lets people's. And you're right, we got to get off of this because there's so much baggage there. You know what I'm saying? Some I agree with you, some I don't, but he lets people's people talk, and it really affects him. Like those people really bad. Like another player really affect Kevin Durant. It really
I
is. It really
know.
affects him.
I know.
He lets it affect him, and it's like So I'll say one thing in Durant's favor and one thing against Durant. You were up 3-1 on this team. You shouldn't have lost, and then you go and join them, and then you want the same recognition when you win a title with them as if you beat them and won a title.
Well, then that's gonna be the asterisk on his career, right? If there's gonna be anything, even if he does, listen, when and if, and I think it's a matter of when, not if, he passes LeBron, I think we're gonna look at this and say, yeah, but X, Y, Z. The team that you joined was the Monstars, right?
Well, yeah. It's gonna be, and this is where stats and numbers. You really have to live in the moment sometimes, because when you look years from now and you see, oh wow, this guy won 5 championships. This guy, you gotta look at
the
everything.
Context. The context.
Yeah, you gotta look in the context. He was up 3-1 and he left. Now, I'll say this though, in his favor, he didn't just come to the team that he knew was already going to win, because they won without him. They were 73-9 without him. Of course they can win without him. So you can go there and basically coast and be a role player, but no, he took on everything, and he didn't become a role player. He didn't coast around. He became the best player on their team by
I agree,
far.
man.
And he became a far better defensive player than he was prior, which was the biggest knock on him.
Yeah. Listen, I watch this team again because I get the opportunity to watch them all the time on CSN. And I get to see the Warriors daily, and I get to see how they play. It's a thing of beauty. But I will tell you this: you don't have to stay for the fourth quarter because teams are already out of it by that point. It's amazing to watch. I swear to you, I've been to 2 games last year where I left by 12 minutes in the fourth quarter because they're already up by 45. And it's like teams don't come back from that. You know that's a fact. So it's like, let me get an early start on this. So I don't like to watch, teams really not having a chance, but it is a thing of beauty. It's a thing of beauty in terms of watching it.
They're exciting because when they're down 30, you can't leave either.
Yeah. Yeah, and you shouldn't, because that's what, you're talking about 12 threes in a 6-minute span, and they can do that. That's not weird, right? You have a couple of fast breaks and they're going to pull up from 3. It's like, no, Curry's not going to pull up from 40 feet. Yes, he does. And it just, the momentum swings so quickly with these guys, man. If you blink, you really can miss a lot of things, man. So
you know what's so dangerous about DeMarcus now in Golden State is he shoots threes too.
I know.
That's the dangerous part,
Like the worst person on your team shooting threes is Draymond Green, and he's probably like a 33%.
Probably somewhere around there. He's the guy that I said I would leave open in the finals,
and that's fine. And the thing is, he's going to hit about, like you said, 3.5 out of 10 shots. I'll take that. I'll take the 2 he's going to hit per game.
But not these guys like Curry shooting 45%, 40% for the free. I mean, this is what people shoot from the field. Like,
straight, it's ignorant. It's crazy. It's crazy.
It's unbelievable. But all right. So let's wrap this up. I think we touched on everything worth touching on in the free agency and the moves. And when something else happens or whatever, we're gonna jump in. Boom, we're gonna have another one. And that's the beauty. That's why I love this format, and I love just being able to just go on whatever. It's not like when we was on VOX and it was
there was time constraints.
The commercials.
Absolutely.
You got to go to break. You got this. Okay, now and it has to be on a certain day, and sometimes we would be on, on a Thursday, but something crazy just happened the day after. It's just,
and then it becomes not relevant,
Yeah, it's the other thing. You're talking about last week's games, but there's already been 2 games for the previous week, Monday Night Football and Thursdays going on. Like, so I love this. And
yeah, man.
So we'll do another one real soon and see what's up,
Appreciate it, man. Everybody have a happy 4th, and you enjoy, Brent, man.
That's right. Happy 4th of July to everybody.
All right.